Plastic really is terrible stuff, but it can be so useful in the garden. A couple of months ago, when I harvested the pumpkins and corn, was finished off this patch, I really didn't get the time to come in and clean it up. So instead of allowing it to go to weeds and getting a lot more weed seed from it, I've covered it with this plastic, and it's done a fantastic job of suppressing the weeds. It keeps them right down, allows the worms to work underneath there and to actually turn that organic matter back into the soil. It also means that the soil is drier than it would otherwise be now, and allows me to come in now, and I'm going to cultivate this soil and plant it with green manure. The next crop coming into this patch is going to be my spring potatoes, and that's still 3 months away. So there's plenty of time, even though it's quite late, it's winter now, to put some green manure in. It's going to have plenty of time to grow and go back into the soil. But the plastic, which is so effective in killing off the weeds and keeping the soil dry, really is not a nice thing. It's not aesthetically pleasing, and environmentally it's not good, because its waste factor is the big problem. The fact that it isn't a biodegradable product going back into the soil. I've used this builder's underlay, so a concrete underlay. It's fairly long lasting. I've had this in use, as I say, for about 4 years. I only use it generally over winters so that it doesn't degrade as quickly with the UV, though it's now getting a little bit old, has a few holes in it. Really, I would love to have a better solution than this. I'd love to have something that was in some way organic to use, but one of the advantages of this is the fact that it actually keeps the water off, and it's really hard to find anything that actually achieves that. Keeping the water off in winter allows a couple of things to happen. One, it stops the leaching of nutrient from the soil, because we tend to get fairly high rainfall over winter. I find that the soil doesn't get as acid also, or suffer from compaction from the rain. And it means that I can come in earlier and work with the soil because it's drier, and I can get a crop, take this off, get a crop in, and move on with the season a bit earlier. So for all those advantages, there's negatives, and it's really a hard thing to weigh up. I will continue to think on this concept to see if I can actually find a better solution to work with. If you have any ideas, I'm happy to hear them. But right now I'm going to take this off, and I'm going to then cultivate it and put in green manure, similar to what I did about a month ago on the other patch, which I talked about on a previous video. But let's go and have a look at that now and see how it's going, because it's ready for the next stage of the process. So this is the patch that I planted around about a month ago now with green manure, and you see it's grown up quite nicely. This is actually higher than you would want to allow it to grow if you were going to actually dig it back into the soil. You'd probably want to come around about 5 inches at maximum, because digging this in is quite difficult when it gets to this length. So right now it's really great to put it back into the soil. What I'm going to do is come with the scythe and just scythe this off, lay it over the top of the soil, and then I will utilize the plastic again. I will come in, put it over the top, and let it sit there probably for the remainder of the winter. The worms can come up and take that back into the soil. They'll eat that organic material, put it back in as nutrient, and it'll be really great for the spring garden. I must confess that scything it like this isn't strictly necessary. I do this really in part because it is so much fun to do. It just cuts like butter and really enjoyable to scythe down. You could just put the plastic over it and that would kill it off, and it would go back into the soil anyway. But it's not only the tops that you're getting back into the soil, but it's also the roots, and as they die the worms will feed on them, and they do contain a lot of nutrition as well. So always think about that. Organic matter is not just the tops, but it's also the roots that are underneath, and the more of those roots you can leave in the soil and let the worms feed on, the better. The beauty of this method is that it provides a storage space also for my tomato trellises over winter, and they're also being used for this purpose of holding the plastic down. As it rains, which I'm expecting tonight, it'll get a lot more water on there that'll go into some of the valleys and help hold the plastic down as well, so that I won't get a lot of blow around through the winter winds. And I can be confident that under there's no weed growth, and the green manure that I've put in is composting back into the soil, and the organisms are having a nice little feed.